Have you ever noticed how the voice inside your mind can feel like your own worst enemy? The one that whispers, "You're not enough, others are better," or "You'll never succeed." It might surprise you, but according to psychological research, this inner critic isn't just an annoyance. It's a habit. And one of the most destructive habits you can carry into a life of transformation, success, and freedom. Researchers find that consistent self-criticism, this internal pattern of harsh judging, second-guessing, and self-blame, correlates with far more than just low mood or fleeting insecurity. It is linked to slowed progress, stunted growth, and opportunities missed, even when talent, ambition, or resources are present. In a systematic review of 49 longitudinal studies, higher levels of self-criticism before treatment were associated with worse outcomes in mental health and performance. When you habitually tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," your brain begins to record that as fact. Thoughts like, "I can't do this," "I don't deserve that," and "others always do it better," become silent programs conditioning your behavior. You may be intelligent, hardworking, and full of potential. But the negative programming undermines your energy, your belief in yourself, and your ability to act. Many who live for years under that invisible pressure wonder why life doesn't change, why success keeps slipping just out of reach. And the answer is often simpler than we expect. It isn't about the money, the talent, or the environment. It's about the voice. That internal narrative limiting you. According to qualitative research into overcoming the inner critic, the cycle often begins with a trigger, a moment of perceived failure or judgment. Then comes the self-critic's voice, the negative loop. Finally, the person reacts with avoidance, resignation, or self-silencing. But there's a shift possible. A study of people who managed to break free reveals 3 core themes: "I am okay but need improving," "I am okay and improvement would help," and "I am not okay and it is hard to be different." What this tells us is that even the most soul-searching among us carry fragments of self-criticism, and it's the response, not the presence of the critic, that matters most. Here's where your transformation begins. You do not have to wait until you've silenced every negative thought. Rather, you begin to engage with that habit consciously. You begin to see self-criticism for what it is, a pattern built over time, not a truth about you. And as you tune into this, you create space for a different kind of internal dialogue. So today, I invite you to step into that space with me, the space of awakening from the critic's voice to the creator's voice. If you're ready to reclaim your mind, reclaim your energy, and reclaim your reality, subscribe now and join this journey of transformation. Because you deserve to live beyond the limits that habit has placed on you. Let's look closer at what really happens in your mind when you criticize yourself. Each time you think, "I'm not enough," your brain treats that thought as a real threat. The same stress circuits that activate when you face physical danger light up even when the threat is internal. Cortisol and adrenaline surge, narrowing your focus, pushing you into survival mode. Your body prepares for battle, but the battle is against yourself. Over time, that biological stress response becomes your baseline. Researchers at the University of British Columbia found that people with high self-criticism show greater activation in the brain's error detection center, the anterior cingulate cortex, and weaker activation in areas responsible for self-soothing and positive emotion regulation. In simple terms, the brain of a self-critic becomes wired to notice mistakes and ignore successes. You start scanning for what's wrong rather than what's working. That habit drains creative energy, motivation, and courage, the very qualities required to grow. But here's the paradox: most self-criticism begins as protection. Somewhere in the past, that inner voice tried to keep you safe, to help you avoid shame, failure, or rejection. Maybe you learned that being hard on yourself keeps you disciplined. Yet neuroscience tells us the opposite is true. Harsh self-judgment suppresses the brain's reward circuitry, reducing dopamine and motivation. Compassion, on the other hand, activates the ventral striatum, the same area linked to resilience and goal pursuit. Studies from Harvard and Stanford confirm that self-compassionate individuals persist longer, recover faster from setbacks, and achieve more sustainable success than those driven by internal criticism. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every self-critical thought is a weed stealing nutrients from your growth. At first, 1 or 2 weeds seem harmless, even useful, a reminder to stay sharp. But when you feed them daily, they multiply, covering every inch of soil until nothing new can grow. The good news? You can replant. You can interrupt the loop. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections, doesn't care how long you've lived with self-criticism. When you replace one internal statement like, "I failed again," with, "I'm learning something new," your neurons literally fire in a different pattern. Repeat that often enough, and you begin to grow new pathways that favor calm, clarity, and confidence. Psychologists call this the self-reassurance shift. Instead of trying to silence your inner critic, you learn to meet it with awareness and a new language. When that voice says, "You'll never make it," you answer, "That's just fear talking. I'm safe, and I'm learning." Each time you respond this way, you teach your mind safety instead of shame. You move from judgment to understanding, and from understanding to transformation. Here's a truth that research keeps confirming: we don't rise by fighting our darkness, we rise by integrating it. The critic is not your enemy, it's a signal, a messenger from an old version of you that once believed pain was protection. You can thank that version for surviving. And then you can release it. Because now, survival is no longer your goal. Creation is. Now that you understand what self-criticism does to your mind, let's explore how to transform it, step by step. This is where psychology meets daily life. Change doesn't happen through sudden epiphanies, but through small, conscious choices that rewire your thoughts. The first step is awareness without judgment. Notice the tone of your inner dialogue. Psychologists call this metacognitive awareness, the ability to observe your own thinking. When you catch yourself saying, "I always mess things up," don't rush to silence it. Simply pause and name it. "That's my critical voice." Naming it weakens its power because you are no longer inside the thought, you're observing it from the outside. Research from the University of Toronto shows that this mental distance reduces emotional intensity and restores rational perspective. The second step is self-replacement. Each time your inner critic appears, consciously replace the thought with a constructive version. For example, instead of, "I failed again," say, "I'm learning what doesn't work." Instead of, "I'm not good enough," try, "I'm improving every day." It might sound simple, even cliché, but these small shifts create measurable neurological change. A 2021 study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that self-reassuring statements increased activity in the brain's insula, an area linked to emotional resilience and empathy. You're not just changing your words, you're changing your wiring. Third, practice daily recognition. Keep a success journal. Every evening, write down 3 things you did well today, no matter how small. Maybe you handled a tough conversation calmly. Maybe you simply showed up despite fear. This habit tells your brain, progress is happening. It trains your focus to look for what's working rather than what's missing. Neuroscientists call this the positivity bias shift. Over time, it builds confidence naturally, without forced affirmations. The fourth step is self-forgiveness. This might be the hardest, because forgiveness means letting go of control. It means accepting that mistakes are not evidence of failure but proof of growth. In studies from UC Berkeley, people who practiced intentional self-forgiveness experienced lower levels of stress hormones and greater persistence in goal achievement. When you forgive yourself, you stop fighting the past and start building the future. And finally, surround yourself with supportive minds. Environment is psychology. The people you interact with either reinforce your inner critic or help you silence it. Seek out those who remind you of your strengths, who see your growth rather than your flaws. The energy of belief is contagious, scientifically and spiritually. Studies in social psychology show that supportive relationships enhance self-efficacy and cognitive flexibility, both crucial for success and well-being. None of this happens overnight. Transformation is not a moment, it's a practice. You will still hear the critic sometimes. But each time you notice it, pause, breathe, and choose a different response. That choice, repeated enough, becomes your new habit. And eventually, that habit becomes your new identity. So imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to live one day without that voice of judgment. To wake up not asking, "What's wrong with me?" but instead, "What's possible for me today?" That shift is where freedom begins, and it's available to you right now, in this very breath. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath, Feel how the air fills your chest, expands your heart, and leaves your body lighter. That breath, that simple act of being alive, is your proof that you're already enough. You don't need to become someone else to deserve peace, love, or success. You only need to remember who you are beneath the noise. Every time you criticize yourself, you momentarily forget your own truth. But truth is patient, it waits for you to remember. Beneath the layers of doubt and comparison lies a self that has never been broken. The same energy that fuels stars and galaxies pulses quietly inside you, guiding you back to creation, not condemnation. Psychologists say the most powerful transformation occurs when self-awareness meets self-compassion. It's not about convincing yourself that you're perfect, it's about realizing you never had to be. The moment you stop fighting your flaws, they stop defining you. The energy you once spent on judgment returns to you as clarity, creativity, and courage. Think of your mind as a lens. When it's clouded by criticism, life appears dim, limited, gray. But as you clean that lens with understanding and forgiveness, you begin to see the same world illuminated, full of possibility. What you focus on expands. So if you begin each morning with one gentle thought, I am learning, I am growing, I am enough, you shift your vibration, your chemistry, your destiny. You might notice subtle changes at first, a sense of ease where there used to be pressure, a quiet confidence where there used to be fear. This is not fantasy, it's neuroplasticity in action, your brain literally reshaping itself to match the stories you tell. Over time, you become fluent in the language of self-trust. You start to act differently, walk differently, attract differently. Opportunities flow, not because the world suddenly changed, but because you did, and when challenges come, as they always will, you'll meet them differently. Instead of, I can't handle this, you'll hear, I'm capable, and I'm learning. Instead of shrinking, you'll expand. Instead of judging, you'll observe. That's mastery. That's inner power. The kind that no external circumstance can take away. So as you move forward from this moment, carry one promise with you, to speak to yourself as someone worth believing in. Because you are. You always have been. You don't need to prove your worth, only to express it. The world doesn't need a perfect version of you, it needs a real one. The one who has learned to rise, to soften, to create. This journey, the journey of transforming criticism into creation, is not about escaping your humanity. It's about embracing it. It's about choosing love over fear, awareness over judgment, creation over control. You were not born to endlessly fix yourself. You were born to discover yourself, again and again, layer by layer, with awe and compassion. That if this message resonates with you, if you're ready to continue awakening the power within your mind and shaping your life from a place of calm strength and clarity, subscribe now and stay with this community of conscious creators. Together, we are learning to turn silence into awareness, thought into energy, and energy into reality. Take one more deep breath. Feel the quiet strength inside you. The critic is no longer in control, the creator is. And the life ahead of you is waiting to be shaped by the thoughts you choose today.